Come out of this truck here, officers will have to go into the water, it looks like, to get him out. They're going to be very careful here because they know he's armed. He's in a bayou. He's run into the bayou here, staying in the truck so far.
Choosing to stay in the truck. The truck is smoking. You see the smoke coming from its front right.
He's in an interesting predicament here because Houston police officers are going to come up here and session guns drawn.
No innocent bystanders, shall we say, driving in cars seem to have been seriously hurt, and that certainly has been our fear for the last almost 2 hours now watching this chase go on.
Yeah, that's true. That's some of the best news that's come out of this, obviously, is that no one got hurt considering the nature of this chase. And I believe he's still in the vehicle. We're just waiting to see officers come into the scene. They're obviously, okay, they're going to send a canine unit in after him. And you can see officers, guns drawn, being very cautious. They believe he still could be armed. And apparently he has not gotten out of the truck yet.
Looks like about 6 officers behind the vehicle there with guns drawn.
Guns drawn, supposed to be sending in a canine unit as well. Let's see if I can zoom in here.
You can still see him in there.
And he is definitely still in the truck.
You can see his hand on the wheel. We're told again a white male in his 50s, they believe, a robbery suspect involved in a robbery of a cleaners in Pasadena.
That cleaners in the 5800 block of Red Bluff. At one time, we're told he fired shots at officers. Not sure if he is still armed. We did have some reports that he possibly threw out a pistol in southeast Houston as this police chase wound through that area.
They believe the actual pursuit began about 2:45, so we are now coming up an hour 45.
Okay, and they are being told that they may be shutting down the beltway here, both directions.
And I saw units up on the beltway, and obviously then you have police officers on the ground as well. And I saw the canine unit there on the left-hand side of the screen for a quick second.
Dave, what was the toll road where they put out the strip that obviously impaired his tires that led to him losing control and thus stuck in the...
That was the toll plaza east of 45, just north of Ellington, right before you get to the Fairmont Parkway exit, which is where he ended up exiting. We are near Fairmont Parkway in the South Beltway. They have closed off the Beltway. They may close off Fairmont Parkway. He's still in the vehicle. Several officers being very cautious. They've stayed a pretty good distance from the vehicle, probably 50 to 100 yards up on the embankment.
Well, especially since he has fired shots, even if they believe he threw a gun out, we don't know if he perhaps had more than one, so you don't want to approach that vehicle and risk one of your officers going down.
Okay, and you can see at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, 2 officers there.
And they're kind of crouching behind the barrier wall there as they get closer and closer to this truck. The suspect's still inside. We did see his hand on the steering wheel at a time. This is at Fairmont Parkway and the Beltway in Pasadena, almost where this chase started in the first place.
Okay, I believe we are right. Okay, we're north of Fairmont Parkway at the Beltway. We're still right along the southeast corner of the Beltway near Fairmont Parkway.
You can see those officers inching closer, now backing up.
Okay, and they're asking us to get a little altitude here and back off a bit so they can try to talk to the suspect.
So that he can hear their voices over the hum of our helicopter.
Over the aircraft, correct. This obviously is going to turn into a standoff.
We can still zoom in, though, viewers, even when we are farther away in the sky, and that's what we just did there. That's why it looks like we moved in when we really didn't. Okay. You know, we've never been able to say whether there's a second person or not in the car, and it looks like no. It looks like only the one person whose hands we saw earlier on the steering wheel.
Yeah, that's correct. Looks like he's the only one, just the driver. Again, a white male, in his 50s apparently. He just stuck his hand out the window as well. I don't know if he was trying to signal to officers or not, or possibly dropping something out the window. They do not know whether or not he is still armed. They believe that he did toss a pistol through the course of the chase earlier, but obviously they have to take every precaution. They easily could still have another weapon in the vehicle. And this truck, basically, I'm going to widen out just a little bit to give folks at home a perspective on what we're looking at here. They've got the beltway in both directions shut down. And all of those units.
You can see all those officers on the upper right-hand corner of your screen.
Yes, they
waiting.
They're using these barricades as protection here. They're probably 50 to 75 yards, excuse me, away from the truck. Now, whether or not they're able to talk to him, we don't know whether or not they can hear him or not, but they're going to try to start communicating with him.
And it did appear that he made some sort of signal, or he put his hand out the window for a quick second.
Just for a second. Made some kind of gesture to him. We don't know at this point whether or not they're actually able to hear him or not. He has not rolled his window down, just to point out. So obviously he's not making an attempt on his part to talk to him.
I was going to say, so many of these pursuits have become a source of controversy for the Houston Police Department, in part because of how they ended and how long they've gone on and to what extent motorists and residents have been put in danger. This one, as we mentioned earlier, having perhaps the best kind of outcome you could hope for, in the sense that there was no crash with another vehicle.
Absolutely. He just sideswiped a few vehicles throughout, but it didn't seem like anybody had been seriously injured, and that's really surprising considering this thing went on for so long and wound through so many streets, not just the highways, but also those neighborhood streets.
Yeah, the really surprising thing is that we did not see a major accident here. As you mentioned, he did hit a few vehicles.
You hate to overuse the word miraculous, but at times I thought that's what it was when I felt like he was just squeaking through the narrowest. Right now we're showing viewers how this all ended as the truck went into the water there underneath the Beltway. I'm sorry, Dave, but we had that shot up. I wanted to just explain what people were seeing. So on the top right-hand side of the screen, that is how this ended, and the bottom left-hand side of the screen is what's going on right now.
Because police were able to throw down some spike strips at a toll plaza eastbound on the Beltway. He hit those. His two front tires went flat. Took a few seconds.
Yeah, at first we didn't think they worked. But
absolutely, and then he started wobbling, and the tires went flat. Then he chose to go off the roadway and into this bayou or creek. Not sure what body of water that is.
I'm sorry, Dave. Could you go back to the point you were making before I had to narrate what viewers were seeing on the screen?
No, that's okay. We were. Forget what we were talking about now. As far as the location goes, near Fairmont Parkway and Vista. The point I was going to make is that for folks that live out in this area, they are shutting down both directions of the Beltway at Fairmont Parkway.
And you do see that one officer, it looks like he was trying to get closer, now is backing up, but almost very secretly trying to approach the truck.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the officer on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen is doing, obviously positioning himself to, if he needs to, take the suspect out if this turns into a situation where the suspect is, in fact, armed still. But there are several units off the top of your screen. I'll widen out and show you again.
Must be a couple dozen units there.
Yeah, and I just think all of these officers at some point were involved in this chase. This is how many people he had behind him trying to catch him.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
And as we've said, it's amazing that nobody got seriously hurt in this as he was driving through all of that traffic.
It is. You know, Gina, you had mentioned the word miraculous. You've used it a few times, and we often use that word in chases. But, you know, when a chase lasts for, you know, an hour and 40 minutes,
right.
You know, cutting through several neighborhoods, school zones, apartment complexes, several cars scraped or sideswiped, one police unit hit, a pedestrian almost hit. It's thankful and just unbelievable no one was injured, and that it has at least calmed down and come to some
trying to open up some line of communication with this person to see if somehow maybe they can coax him out, but they are definitely not going to go anywhere near this vehicle right now because of that suspect already firing on police officers. So that's going to be the tough part, and as you're watching right now, they're setting up some type of their communication base right here on the hood of some of the police cars on the other side of the bridge. So we're going to keep watching that. Actually, we're going to try and get on the other side and get a little better vantage point. We'll come back to you, Bill.
Okay, Robert. The police officers, the closest ones, are only about 25 feet away from this truck. They have a direct view inside the truck. He's had the driver's side window down throughout the entire chase, so presumably the officers can see this individual, although we can't. But they can tell whether he's still seated, whether he's laying down on the seat, whether he's gone to the back seat, whether he's caused himself any harm. They would know all these things because they can see right into his vehicle. This is the end of a police chase that lasted some 2 hours, went through several different police jurisdictions, involved at least 5 police jurisdictions at one point. The officers who were in pursuit of him.
A lot of activity down here. They are letting traffic trickle through on the Beltway here, but there are dozens and dozens of officers who are kind of just securing the area right now. Obviously, they don't know what this guy's intentions are. They don't know what he has with him in terms of weaponry or anything like that. We did see a pistol, or we heard that a pistol was thrown out of the window a little bit earlier. But, as you've been mentioning, this guy could have more weapons with him, and so at this time, it looks like they're secure to, or they're deciding to let this guy kind of wait himself out, and they've got the area secure. This guy's not going anywhere. It's just turning into a waiting game right now.
It's like you're walking. Are you walking towards the scene, or are they making you go farther back?
I am across the street. I'm across the Beltway on the other side of where the accident took place.
And is that as close as they're letting you go?
Well, you know, this scene is unfolding so quickly. You know, people, they're trying to keep traffic away in all directions. They're stopping the traffic as much as they can, but we were able to kind of slip through a strip center and get through the back ramp, and we were able to get back on the feeder. So, you know, basically we are now on the eastbound side of the Beltway, and they're keeping us at length here. We can't even really get close to the center lane. I think the press is just basically respecting what these officers need to do in terms of space. But I can see over there's a lot of people standing around and just waiting.
Yeah, we can see that they have the Beltway closed off in both directions. I know that prohibits you from getting much closer. Mark, can you stand by for a moment while we check in with Dave?
Sure.
Dave Garrett?
Yes, Gina, go ahead.
Okay. Anything that has changed from your vantage point from above?
One thing that has changed, they have called off the HPD helicopter. They've been given the all clear to go ahead and go home. So the helicopter is no longer overhead. Obviously, they're not in a position where they need them at this point. We ourselves are going to go for fuel here soon, around 5 o'clock, and come back. Our second helicopter, Sky I-2, is right overhead as well. But not much has changed from our position. Still watching the officers gather just on this side of the truck, on this side of the embankment, and
the one on his belly in the grass, is he moving closer or staying put?
It looks like he's gotten a little bit closer to the road. He's for the most part staying put, buried in this brush here. And again, they still think that the suspect may still be armed.
Which also could be part of why they're keeping Mark Garay back at a safe distance.
Yeah, that and clearing out the Beltway here.
Mm-hmm. And you have dozens of officers there, with many of them with their guns drawn, obviously closing off the Beltway. Not sure how this is all going to end. We want to take you back earlier in this police chase when the suspect, a white male in his 50s, drove through a golf course in Pearland, the Country Place Golf Club. He was driving over the fairway, almost to the sand trap, just going on to the golf cart path right now. Never seen that before, a suspect trying to elude police on a golf course. But this is where he had the advantage. We keep on talking about this because he's in that pickup truck and he's able to drive over these fields rather easily, while the police officers haven't been able to follow him very closely. In this case, they were able to follow him just on Country Place Road right next to him, but he stayed on the grassy area through this golf course, as then he hit a pebble, or a gravel road, I should say, and then got back out.
With the Pasadena Police Department, they're getting your communication gear together, get his bulletproof vest on before he goes over and joins the rest of his team members. We also have SWAT officers here from the Houston Police Department and other tactical officers from the Harris County Sheriff's Department. As you've been seeing from up top from News Chopper 2, you do have officers that are seeing into that truck. They're watching every move that this man is making, because one of the most puzzling things is he so desperately for 2 hours, threw caution to the wind, sideswiped several cars, shot at police officers, did everything he could to get away, and once he landed in this ditch, now he hasn't moved. So the police are going to be very cautious about how they approach this vehicle, but the officers that are surrounding it right now are there to make sure that he doesn't make any moves, any type of aggressive moves. Once they get all the teams in place, then they'll start trying to talk to this man, for at least try and establish some kind of line of communication with him to determine, if he's going to eventually give up or if he's going to continue to fight like he has throughout this entire chase. More of the officers that are coming in right now are going to start breaking up into smaller tactical units, and they'll be taking up different positions, backing up those that are already on the ground right now. Now, they've let this one side of the Beltway it open so at least the cars can get through the area. But the other side is going to remain blocked off because this is where the officers are going to have to set up. This is going to be, for lack of a better term, their base of operation right now. We've also got a canine unit over here that's just come on scene as well. They were trying to figure out a way to use the canine units when that man went into the ditch, but have decided to back off of that at this point. Bill?
Okay, Robert, one of the things, Robert, that, as you know, the SWAT teams try to look for is some sort of negotiating leverage. And you may have heard us mention a while ago, he has tinted windows in this truck, so he's rolled them up, and he's inside the cab of this truck with probably 125, 130 degrees of heat inside there, and that works to the SWAT team's advantage, does it not?
Well, yes, exactly. You would think that would eventually start playing a part and wearing on this man, but the desperation that he's shown, the number of cars that he sideswiped, shooting at the different officers, he's not going to give up anytime soon. He's shown that, and the fact that when he dove into that ditch, he's made no attempt to even try and get out. So it's going to be quite a while before they're able to resolve the situation. Police are able to resolve this situation, and given as desperate as this man is, no telling how long he can hold out.
Robert, and they've cut off the roads there. Can you tell us what...
Yeah, which directions are cut off right now, and which direction is still flowing now on the Beltway?
Well, both directions of the Beltway here. We're probably about a mile from the Spencer Highway Pine Street exit, and both directions of the Beltway have now been shut down. They wanted to alleviate some of the backup, but now they've shut it down again because until this is over, this is going to be the main base of operations for the SWAT officers and all the different agencies out here trying to resolve this situation.
Have you seen a SWAT command truck come there to take control of the situation yet? That'll be the next step, though.
Not yet. Exactly. Right now, they're keeping the perimeter formed to keep an eye on this gentleman to see exactly what he's going to do and make sure they can watch his every move.
Okay, thank you very much. Robert Arnold standing by live there on the scene of the Beltway in Pasadena as this drama unfolds. The man who is inside that truck, as you may have heard us say already, has fired at a police officer. There is a briefing in progress. We're going to listen in on the telephone here.
This event, the suspect is reported to have fired one shot at the police car and did touch the unit.
So this man was known to have robbed a number of establishments. There was something of a stakeout going on there?
No, it was not a stakeout. It was just a matter of another robbery having been reported. And the detective heard. What is happening right now is that the police are still negotiating with the suspect, attempting to get him to surrender. He's sitting in his vehicle and has a gun in hand. Has periodically, in the course of this event, pointed the gun at his head and in his mouth. And as a matter of fact, right now, the officer has just asked the suspect to put the gun down.
How is he communicating with you? Verbally, or is there a cell phone? How is he communicating?
Well, I heard the officer ask the suspect to roll the window down, so it sounds like that the officer is communicating with a bullhorn, and the suspect is presumably just talking out the window.
What kind of firepower do you have around him? I see there's a lot of guys with high-powered rifles, it appears.
Well, these are members of the sniper team that's associated with our SWAT unit, and they are trained on the suspect in the event that things go awry.
How many people do you have out there on him?
I don't know the exact number. I mean, you can see what I can see, so whatever that number is.
At this point, the entire freeway is blocked off.
I'm sorry. I mean, this will go on as long as we have to. I mean, we want the suspect to surrender without any injuries to the police, to the suspect, or anybody else.
And Captain, it looks as though the entire freeway is blocked off at this point. Is that right?
Well, it's been blocked off periodically. The feeder is certainly blocked off completely, but the main freeway is being opened from time to time by other officers who are allowing a trickle of traffic to go through as much as possible.
Wondering how uncomfortable it's going to get for him over there. Is his truck on? Is the air conditioning on? Or is he sitting there in the heat?
He's probably sitting there in the heat, considering his vehicle is submerged, probably up to the top of the grill.
Thank you, Captain Corbett. Appreciate it very much. That is Captain Bud Corbett of the Pasadena Police Department, who is obviously keeping up with the scene over there. The man, obviously despondent, wanted, if we were to read the information correctly, in connection with the number of robberies of these establishments, such as the one that Vicente Arenas visited just a moment ago. And again, the man over there, inside that bayou over there, his truck partially submerged. He apparently is threatening to commit suicide, has had his gun inside his mouth. We've been hearing periodically calls from that bullhorn, people saying, as I scribbled down a few few quotes, words to the effect of, "Come on, man, help me out. Take the gun out of your mouth and start a conversation." Clearly, they're trying to talk this man into surrendering at this point. But you can see there the snipers, members of the sniper team, obviously very much on guard just in case the man points his gun in another direction. We will keep you posted from here as we get more information. But that is everything that we have to report from the ground here. Perhaps you can see something more from the air in that direction, Lennon and Lisa.
All right, Doug, thank you. I just had one other question. You were asking the captain whether there was a stakeout, and he said no, but it sounds like they were just alerted because there was another robbery, not necessarily because it was this individual, but because there have been several robberies, correct?
Yeah, that's the impression that I got, and you heard everything I heard, but I am assuming that it was simply a matter of a police officer on patrol in a certain area. Obviously, one of the advantages of having a good beat police officer is that he knows about the crimes that have been committed in his area. It sounds as though there were a number of robberies of similar establishments in that vicinity, and he heard about this one, and that's how the chase began.
And Doug, that would, if that were the case, and this gentleman does turn out to be a suspect in a number of robberies, that would be a motive for him to run off as he has.
You'd think so. One other question that is very much on my mind at this point as to whether this man has a criminal record. Obviously, if he has a couple of other convictions behind him, he may have a motive for not surrendering at this point because after a number of convictions, he could be sentenced to a very lengthy or life prison term. So that could be something else that's playing into this. We just don't know. All that we know is right now is this man is apparently a suspect in a number of robberies of establishments in that area, and a police officer just happened to be alert enough to make the connection and headed over in that direction, and that's how all of this started in the middle of this afternoon.
Yeah, Doug, and the other thing is, I mean, this guy may, if he's had prior convictions, he may have done some time, and a lot of times guys don't want to go back. The other thing is, do we have any sense of what kind of shape, not mentally, obviously the guy's distraught, but is physically, because he drove around for a long time and hit cars and went through ravines, and do you have any sense of that?
That's exactly the question that someone posed just a few moments ago. Is it hot inside that truck? Is the engine running? Is his air conditioner running? We don't have any idea about his physical condition. He's obviously sitting inside that vehicle. One question would be whether he's been physically injured at this point. You know, we were able to go by the scene of the accident where someone, where this man actually struck another vehicle, struck a red pickup truck, a Dodge pickup truck, and we talked to the woman who was driving that car. She didn't see it coming. Let's listen to what she had to say. Can you tell me what happened here?
I was driving, and whoever they were chasing hit me from the side.
So you're just minding your own business, and this guy blows through the intersection here, huh?
Pretty much.
What were you thinking when that happened?
It scared me because I really didn't know what was going on until I saw the cop cars and got out of my truck, and then I knew they were chasing somebody.
So how fast were they going? What did it look like?
I don't know, maybe 40, 50 miles an hour, I don't know.
So it's really hard for that woman to tell. She had her 5-year-old son with her at the time, and her 5-year-old son apparently was fine. Everybody seemed fine. There was an ambulance that left the scene, but that ambulance apparently came simply to check out, make sure that nobody was hurt. Fortunately, nobody was hurt there at that location. Obviously, one of the concerns of the police officers in this situation is to make sure that no one is hurt, to sort of limit the damage, so to speak, and that's what they're trying to do at this very point with that gunman inside the ditch at the scene, the ditch that he rolled into, or however you'd like to describe it, on his rims going into that body of water. They're trying to talk him into giving up right now, and it's a negotiation, and that is what we have underway right now. Police officers with bullhorns trying to talk that man, that lone man with a gun, into surrendering.
All right, Doug, we just saw you were talking with Pasadena Captain Bud Corbett with the Pasadena Police Department, and I would assume that Pasadena Police would still be the lead agency in this because it started in their jurisdiction and the whole thing started with a chase with them, but we've seen several different law enforcement agencies down there on the ground. Can you tell me a little bit about the different agencies you see or you saw while you were following along?
I can tell you that we saw a number of agencies. I believe we saw a DPS trooper, we saw a constable vehicle, obviously a number of Pasadena police vehicles. Here at the scene, we are seeing all Pasadena police vehicles, one county constable's vehicle, Harris County Constable vehicle, leaving the scene. It looks like at this point this is, from our perspective at least, entirely a Pasadena police operation. Obviously, their sniper team is on the scene, and their negotiators are on the scene. This looks like it is entirely, right now, a Pasadena police situation. A far cry from what we saw earlier, whenever we saw many police vehicles. I can't tell you how many police vehicles involved in the pursuit of the suspect, who is now underneath this freeway bridge. Looks like the entire freeway, Beltway 8, blocked off here near Fairmont Parkway. So obviously, it looks like it's going to be. It could well be a very long evening here.
Use the telephone. He was talking to somebody on the phone, is what I understand, and she had turned her back and went in the back area, I presume. And when he came back, he was taking the money out of the register.
Did he say he was a customer?
No, he was asking about pricing.
Asking about pricing, then he takes off from here, and of course you know what happens after that. Also just got off the phone with the Pasadena Police Department, which says that there are a number of robberies being investigated. It is unclear if any other Queen Oaks cleaners have been hit. The owner did tell me this afternoon that others had not been robbed. We're still trying to clear up, I should say, some conflicting information. I am checking with the Pasadena Police Department, and as soon as I have more information, I'll be bringing that to you here in just a few moments. Lisa and Lynn, back to you.
All right, Vicente, thanks. So this was the one Queen Oaks cleaners that we know that was on Red Bluff that was hit by this suspect, and getting a better picture of a possible motive for why this suspect ran. We learned earlier during a live news conference with Pasadena Police Captain Bud Corbett that there have been some robberies in that area. There was a detective driving around and heard about this particular robbery in progress and put two and two together thinking, wow, that sounds similar, headed over that way. We know that the suspect had showed a gun to the dry cleaner attendant, the woman who was there, who was 82 years old, and some kind of shots exchanged, and then the chase began. And again, you are seeing highlights, should we say, there of the chase.
Corbett, again, could you tell us what exactly is happening with the suspect, how they're trying to communicate with him, how he is communicating back with them?
Okay, you want me to start over?
If you would, please. Yeah.
Okay, sure. The officer is communicating with the suspect verbally by use of a bullhorn, but the suspect is not responding verbally. What he has done, though, is roll the window up and down and acknowledge or make a sign with his hand that he can hear what the officer is saying. And the officer's primary focus at the moment is to try to get the suspect to take the gun out of his mouth.
Very good. Thank you very much, Captain Bud Corbett with the Pasadena Police Department, informing us of exactly how they're communicating with this man. Actually, that may sound discouraging in some respects, but it is an encouraging sign, because the first thing a negotiator tries to do in this situation is to establish some sort of communication, some sort of rapport. I've talked with SWAT negotiators over the years who've said if you can just get a guy to pick up the phone and say hello, that's a very big step. And in effect, they've done that here. They've got this guy responding to them. He's rolling down the window, using hand gestures, we're told, whatever, to try to communicate. There's some sort of communication going on. That's an encouraging sign for the police officers who are trying to talk to this man who has a gun, who is down there inside his car that is inside the bayou. So they apparently have established some sort of communication. The next step, of course, trying to get him to talk to them and to get him to realize that he just might want to walk. Captain Corbett, you're saying what? He's doing what at this point?
I'll answer that in just a second.
What is he doing at this point? He has been communicating in other ways besides rolling the window down and so on.
The only way he has communicated with the police officer is by virtue of rolling his window down and acknowledging with his hand that he can hear what the officer is saying.
Captain, have
but
you
he's been writing something, is that right?
Family members to come and help you with these negotiations?
I don't know if that's been done or not. That's usually part of the course of events in a situation like this.
Captain, you said something about a note. What were you saying about a note?
The witnesses, that is the negotiators and the other officers in the immediate area, observed what they appeared to think was the officer writing a note. I'm sorry. Let me do that one again. The officer observed him engaged in what appeared to be writing a note, but the officer does not know the content of the note or if there actually was one. But it just appeared to be that, and they passed the information on me.
That would indicate he's put the gun down. Is that right?
The primary focus of the contact right now is to get the suspect to put the gun down, because most of the time while he's talking to the officer, he's had the gun in his mouth.
If he's writing a note, that would indicate he put the gun down. Is that what you're hearing?
I don't know that he put the gun down. He may have moved the gun away from his mouth. But as far as I know, he hasn't removed the gun from his hand.
Do we know about any injuries?
This man over here had a question I need to answer. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Any injuries along the way to this point?
I was told that one of the officers involved in pursuit was involved in a major accident, indicating that someone was hurt. I don't know if it was the officer or somebody else.